Hi, good evening, and thank you for joining us on day 261 at Good Governance Yard. And today we have a very special guest, Peter De Almeida is here, joining us for a casual chat, let's say. And as usual, we have Chiranta, we have Chris, we have Tassie, Damaris, and Aubrey joining us. And Tassie, thank you so much for taking the reins last week. I was not able to come and do that, and you did an incredible job. So Peter, thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you for asking me to join your long table.
No, actually everybody has been looking forward to meeting you. You were on the list of people that we always wanted to have on board, and we finally have you here. And since you're an activist and a tech entrepreneur, I actually got ChatGPT to write your to summarize your bio.
Interesting. We can talk a little about that also later.
So basically, what it summarized your bio. So let me kind of read it and then toss it over to you.
I'm very curious.
So Peter is an activist and a visionary leader, entrepreneur and advocate for innovation in the IT industry. With over 30 years of experience, he has pioneered the introduction of cutting-edge technologies and founded Enable, a thriving company with a mission to create an efficient and intelligent world. Beyond his professional achievements, Peter's diverse career spans banking, acting, directing, and activism, where he champions human rights and environmental causes. As a dynamic public speaker and chairman of Cahill Mala Productions, Peter continues to inspire audiences worldwide, pushing boundaries and embracing diversity. So, do you think it captured you?
Actually, yes, except the last one. It's the purpose of Cahill Mala.
Right.
Capturing. What's the last bit that you read?
Peter can inspire audiences
worldwide. The purpose of the Cahill Mala company, and not my purpose. It will be too ambitious for me to say, through captivating stories. That's our Cahill Mala company's purpose.
Right, and that is your production company.
Well,
you're part of it.
Yeah,
right.
It's not. I'm not.
Yeah, but I think people got to know you initially as an actor, right? I mean, that's how you broke into the public consciousness.
Public, yes. If you look at the broader segment, broader population,
right.
I use that way. But I think I was initially my own journey. When I was 15, I happened to meet this veteran trade unionist, socialist, in the real sense of the word, not socialism as it is being used now. Actually, humanist, a criminal lawyer, Bala Tambo. You must have heard of him.
Of course.
So Bala Tambo. So I was 15 when my brother was in the CMU, the Ceylon Mercantile Union. That was the union he led, independent trade union. At the height of their union, there was 36,000 employees. They could bring the port of Colombo to a halt. Right. They were a very powerful union. Independent, not affiliated to any political party. So my brother happened to be a member of that union, and he took me to see Bala Tambo. I was 15, and then it changed my life because I began to. I come from a Catholic, conservative Catholic family, but even within my religion, I had looked at the radical side of the church. With the Second Vatican Council, they were talking about rights, human rights, and wealth inequality and all of that. So I had started moving even within my faith. I had started moving to a more radical, more social conscious kind of religion. And when I met Bala, and he exposed me to the whole idea of what it is. And it was not only about politics and Marxism and all of that. We learned about psychology and classics, history. So it was a complete. It broke me away from the shackles of my religious upbringing,
right,
and set me off on a path to liberation, freed my mind. And from that point, I think I've been a socialist at heart, meaning for me, the greater good of society will always take precedence over my own personal interests. So I continue to actively engage with that kind of thinking in my background consciousness.
Right, so that was your gateway into sort of into politics, into activism, and
yes. I was also in the trade union.
And things like
that. I was a bank union. So I was just a treasurer of the bank union. That's another strong independent union, 16,000 employees. I became the treasurer when I was 22. I'm probably the youngest office bearer of a national union. When Bala became secretary of the CMU, he was 25. Wow. So I was 22. I was a banker, but I was more actively involved in trade union work. So that was my foray. But yeah, you're right. People broader population didn't know. Then I took
Yeah.
part in this Gira
Gira, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of course,
that
yes.
was a
Yeah,
fantastic.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. So I still meet people. Both the parents and the children are fans.
Fans of, yeah.
So yeah. So
But
that's
that puts you in a
that.
unique position to kind of bridge a certain divide where you have that mass popular appeal or name recognition.
Yes.
Because you're in that in the conscience of like the broader population at large.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and I think we saw you during the Aragale, we saw the IT
Yes.
industry stepping out, and I think you mentioned that was the first time that
That's right, that's
the industry
right.
as a whole actually came out
That's right.
in support of any movement at all.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you see your role there in terms
So
and you still
interesting
see
because
it-
you know there are stereotypes, no? So an actor, stereotypical actor, Sri Lankan. So they have a picture in their head,
Yeah.
and then they find that you're an activist. So okay, some actors are also active, but they can't get their head around the fact that I led a technology company.
Right.
So that was I got into IT when I left the banking sector. I got a little disillusioned with the union. I went to join my friend who had started an IT company. Actually, I helped him to start it in the sense I helped him write the proposal and so on. So that was wow. That was about 40 years ago. Yeah, almost. Yeah. And so then we started this East-West Information System. So I got into IT, and that was a different journey. So yeah, it's a kind of a strange combination to be an activist, an actor, but also to be a tech entrepreneur.
You were also in advertising, Q&A?
No, actually I was, for a short time I was also with my friend Steve Villa Silva. We started a company called Rap Factory. Video
Yeah, I remember
yes,
Rap Factory.
yes,
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
good.
commercials, man.
Yes, I was in one commercial.
One
with you.
commercial.
Ah.
Yeah, Dialogue, long
Yeah,
time.
yeah. You were quite a star.
But I mean, also good.
So then, your cousin. Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a little foray to advertising and video production, and again there also we always try to be the best, so we were probably the best video production company. New technology, brought a lot of new technology, and Steve of course was a very fun director.
As a director.
Yeah, and his eye for details and color and setting. And he's also a stage director and director. So yeah, so that was an interesting little period of my life.
Right. But I think Peter gives you like a unique credibility because you've been in many spheres, and I think especially to talk to maybe the business community, the middle class, the upper middle class in this country, who are maybe slightly removed from the rest of the population, who are going through a different kind of struggle than they are. So we'll get to that in a minute.
Sure.
But to kick things off,
Yes.
would you be able to kind of summarize the political climate right now and the state as you see it of the country, where we are right now?
So we are bankrupt. Let not anybody listening to this program today think otherwise. We are a bankrupt country. That has not changed. Despite the pronouncements of the president, nobody takes the pronouncement seriously. And we talk about a few examples how the Japanese got so irritated and how they hit back because they are one of the big creditors and made a ridiculous statement. So nobody really pays much attention to what he says. Serious-minded people, and also the governor of the central bank. Nobody takes him seriously. So central bank has discredited itself in the way it conducted itself right through the crisis because they were functioning. It's not like the central bank had closed down. They were functioning. The governors were there. All the economists were there. Or the monetary board was functioning. And what? You wake up one morning and say, my coffers are empty. You'll be thrown out of your job if it's a company. But the thing is, the monetary board continued after the collapse. And now they've changed it. So the fact of the matter is, we are bankrupt. And what are the signs of bankruptcy? I always talk my lectures to not lectures. I talk to university students, and they say it's so unfortunate that I'm talking to you today when we are in such a hopeless situation. What does it look like? First thing, Chaminda, we have not repaid our debt. Not 1 cent of our foreign debt have we repaid.
No. In fact, I think we've added 20% more to the.
We have added more. I have various numbers, but I spoke to an economist, Dhanushka, just on my way here. 40 billion foreign debt. Now gone up to 53 billion. So we have not even started serious negotiations. In fact, I said this very early when I was in the Artists of the People's Movement, that IT professionals for the people to do groups. We'll talk about that, the dynamics of movement creation and all of that, and why it works, sometimes it doesn't work. And you guys are very familiar with this, you all led a kind of a movement. But coming back to so I tell these students, it's so unfortunate that you are coming to university system. What does bankruptcy mean? It simply means that you have no money to fund your day-to-day affairs. You're struggling to keep the day-to-day affairs going. Worse is that you have absolutely no chance of investing in the future. So, if you can't barely keep this going and you can't invest in your future, just think of a company scenario. There's no hope of you being sustainable. And a future that is being disrupted by technology, which we can't even get our head around. If we have time, we can talk about artificial intelligence and what it's doing to education and all the unemployment and so on. But we have no money to spend. Now the government says, I'm going to introduce a subject, AI, next year. This is the kind of nonsense they come up with. Like home science or something like that. AI, who's going to teach?
Yeah. Where's the expertise?
There's expertise.
Yeah.
No, we have a teacher.
Professor.
Right? He will teach.
So, he can hardly keep his pants held together. So, that's a different matter. But, this is a kind of, hogwash. So, no money to invest in the future. Then, our people are leaving. Is it correct? 1 million have left?
Million.
Possibly.
Million.
Now, I go to university, 30% of the academic staff have gone. Well, doctors, I don't know whether Archana was able to get some information. There is a friend of hers who is an anesthetist at the pediatric, at the Baby Ridgeway. I think there were 6, there are only 3. So they are working round the clock. And God forbid when they can make a mistake.
Yeah.
Under pressure, it's unfair. So unfair. So 3. There were 12 pediatric cardio surgeons or pediatricians, pediatric cardio specialists.
Yeah.
12. Only 6.
Holding the
We have
heart and all.
6 million children. 6 million children. Only 12 or 6 now. So, if the best of your people are, who is going to educate our younger generation? The best of the lecturers are gone, the best of the doctors are gone, the best of the experts are gone. You need people with experience to build the next generation. And we'll need them if you're going to come out of a crisis. You need people. You don't have that. You don't have that. That's gone. Then assets. Thirdly, you must have assets to really. We're selling our assets off at fire sale prices. And that's exactly what Professor Ulrich, who was in a famous guy, he spoke about the Sri Lanka crisis. He said, this is exactly where they want you to be. That the creditors want us to be in this position because they don't want our money, he says. And so does Yanis Varoufakis, the former Greek finance minister, who knows very well because he's gone to the Greek, can talk a little about it. He says they don't want your money, they want your assets. You think India came and gave us 4.5 billion because they loved us? I mean, India is facing abject poverty. Income inequality in India is staggering.
Right.
So India comes and gives 4.5 billion. My God, Modi, this government, that government. Now they are coming calling. They want to give Adani our renewable energy, which is a key asset that we must own, with no competitive bidding. Apparently, he sells it to the Indian government at 22. Indian government buys from him at US cents. We are buying supposedly at 50 cents.
Yes.
US cents. Double. How come? Of course, somebody can economies of scale and all that, but I'm saying no competitive bidding. And our Harim Fernando shamelessly, proudly says 3 of our airports are going to be managed by India. I would, if I would actually say that, hide under the table, cover myself, and just my voice will say, he comes, smiles. I know him. Not a bad man. Not a bad guy. But these are the people in power. Shamelessly. We can't run our airports. This country. This is what bankruptcy looks like. Just a little more. Take a health sector. Complete collapse. Doctors going is one thing. Medicine shortage. I go to the nephrology unit, a cousin of mine is about to go through dialysis. I say those doctors are breaking their backs. And nephrology, kidney means your whole bodies, all your organs start to fail. They come and take medicine packets like this. And they're running out of cash. very soon they won't be able to fill their prescription. No drugs, no equipment. So how can
Broken equipment not being fixed.
broken, no drugs,
Right.
buy from outside, surgeries are postponed. So, help. And don't forget, Sri Lanka is a country that's facing a dangerous escalation in diabetes. So, we have got a huge problem. No dialysis machines, no nurses. He said the trained nurses who dialysis, a lot of them are gone.
So, Peter, the problem is the people who you are speaking about,
Yeah.
I mean, the people who would be, this would affect,
Yeah.
they don't have a voice to speak out.
That is my
and
point.
And the people who have a voice to
Yeah.
speak out don't care because they don't go to government hospitals.
Yeah.
They don't go to government schools. Right?
But there is an increase now. People are not able to afford the
That is
government.
true. That is true.
They're all going. So the government load is increasing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I myself will have to go to a government hospital
Same.
if I have cancer or something. I can't afford it.
Yeah. Same.
I have to go. So more and more people now, even my cousin, one circumstances, he would have gone.
Right.
Can't afford it. So we can't think. So can you imagine the burden? Their education. You were talking to some principals of Colombo schools. In 2 batches we spoke to them about changing the education system to face the future. I mean, 20, 30 children entering school today will come out in 20. What will the world look like? You think this memorizing and answering papers is going to cut it? It's not going to cut it. They need creativity, problem solving, those kinds of 21st century learning. So we shared some thoughts with them. They said, very good, we completely agree. Our biggest problem is to get children to come to school today. Now Nahil Vijay Surya, I know him because he was the owner of East West Information System, the founding company that my friends founded, and I worked with him. Now he's providing meals to a school in Kotena. This is not some rural school. 600 children. He said after he started providing them that one meal, attendance has increased. And sadly, like the governor of the central bank made note of this, most children eat half the lunch, take the other half.
Oh my God.
That because they have some sibling, a mother, and we have relatives. And the boy will always say, I will take something from my boy. And this governor can sit there in his damn glass house and dare to say, you have to stabilize the economy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We see it sometimes.
Not only that, increase the salary. I mean, the allowances.
Now that they brought it, we'll come to that.
Yeah,
I mean,
increase
can you
the
imagine?
salaries, yeah.
Today I was listening, but actually, in a purely economic sense, because there was 70% inflation and real wages fell by 70%, you need 70% increase. Right? It's a different matter. But they have paid themselves, and interestingly, Chiranta, today the Prime Minister was reading, shockingly, the lowest segments of the central bank got the lowest percentage increase. The highest paid got, I mean, my company, when we were running Enable, we always give the lowest paid employee, we get a pool, a pot of money to for
Everyone.
my parent company said, here is X amount, distribute. We always give the higher percentage to the lower paid because you are getting a percentage of a low salary. So cost of living is okay.
course.
So we gave 20-30%. We took 10%. I always got the lowest 8%. Even when all the others got. The damn central bank. This most senior officers. He read the last person, the name, designation in single. I was having my shower coming here. 76%. The lowest has got 20%.
It should be.
So the highest salary gets the highest percentage. I mean, can you believe this?
I mean, the guys at the lower
Yeah.
end are the ones who are most disproportionately affected
That's
by the
right.
crisis. So
Actually,
obviously they need to be
There's
looked
another
after
stat
first.
which I heard that the lowest, after this increase,
Yeah.
the person who earns the lowest salary at the central bank earns more than a doctor.
More than 188,000.
Definitely
Is this
teacher.
correct?
See, my point is, I have no grounds against someone getting 188,000 because today, according to the anchor, I forget the name of the company, some global index, they say in Sri Lanka for a family of two children, you need about 78,000.
No,
Yeah.
2,500 a week.
2,000. So 78, so that's their study,
Yeah.
78,000 now, or 80,000, I can't remember. Now, I don't mind if somebody gets a, but to your point, that's teachers, man. What a pittance.
They get a pittance. Absolutely.
Pittance. And as a result, they are private tuition, all that, but still some of them really do their best, So, I mean, like somebody was arguing, Now the central bank guys go through the university system. The professors and teachers, they have to teach them. So what about them? Central bank employees are important, but I don't think they're any more important than a teacher, or for that matter, a government doctor, or for that matter, a farmer, or a fisherman.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like self-dealing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely
But
self-dealing.
we saw this differentiation some time ago, no? I mean, when the DDR was happening, they were paying themselves 25% from the EPF, while the rest
The central
EPF
bank
they were-
seems to act as
well,
a...
EPF
No,
was
the
managed-
central bank, you know.
They were only getting 9%, right?
In
Everybody
fact,
else.
Harvard Nicholas was talking about this act that they brought into, and that takes away the independence of central bank. I mean, our central bank has never been an independent. It's a false flag, and he himself admitted it.
I think
this
it's
guy-
probably worse under Cabral.
Yes, I mean, what
But
independence?
it's never been truly independent.
Independent at all, and now this man is just a voice for the government, and I'm telling you one last thing on the central bank. I'm telling you with responsibility, our banks control the central bank. And when I put it to a foreign CEO of a foreign company, I said, because I got involved with the central bank, we tried to form an open banking framework where other people, it will disrupt banking if you adopt this open banking framework. Other players, small software players can come in, because I can tell my bank, I'm giving you permission to share my information to all my banks with a company, the software company that's consolidating loan information and offer you the best possible deal and all that.
Yeah.
So we sat in that committee headed by a friend of mine, a lady, great job, and we are the only committee that actually finished on time with the report. Those banks, I'm sure went in, nothing came out of it. So I told this to the CEO of a foreign bank. I said, it's a fact that you control the bank, the central bank. He said, you are not wrong. Take the interest rate spread. That's why the banks have made super profits. Yesterday I heard bankruptcy on 40 billion. How can a financial institution make such enormous profits when the entire country is fallen?
Right.
This is the point of the IMF and the World Bank and all that.
The economy is fallen.
CEP, petroleum, they just reduced the tariffs by like a token amount, but we're still paying the highest in South Asia.
Sorry, I
Please.
just want to say about this now. If the banking sector is behaving like that, and central bank is is also behaving like what is it is now, I think we are the gap between the poorest of the majority are poor and minority is rich. That gap is going to widen and widen.
Absolutely, Chila. Our income inequality anyway globally under this so-called great capitalist system that we have, income inequality has grown massively. In fact, I had a book which I did here, Thomas Piketty, economist, who wrote this book on inequality. And he, unlike other economists, had 100 years of data, all digitally available. So he clearly says income inequality is growing, and it's bad for the capitalist system. 3 people own more wealth than 160 million people in the United States. 3 people.
For the
That's
capitalist system to exist,
Yeah.
you need consumers.
That's right.
People who
so
can
your
afford to
point,
spend.
income inequality
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
and the banks are the biggest problem that the central bank does not intervene is that at a time like this the banks can't have such a big spread. That is the difference in lending,
Versus
borrowing
deposit
rate,
and
the
lending.
lending rate. Most countries it's 1-2%. Our bank during the crisis I got a shock. I had
10%?
a deposit even more. I had a deposit at a foreign bank, it would pay me 5%. Okay, now other banks were paying more. I said, great. Now, generally, when you borrow against that, they'll give 2%.
2 or 3%.
Like that, 2,
Correct.
2.5. When you're a good customer, even 1.5. So I thought I can borrow now at 7%. A lot of money. Maybe I'm Buddhist people. And I thought I can then now put it in the bank at 20%.
Yeah.
You know, so they
4% more.
17% to lend to me against my own.
Against your own
No, I
deposit.
said this is usury. This is not banking.
Yeah.
Usually. So, now the central bank can intervene and say, now we need to rebuild the country.
Yeah.
You cannot have these spreads. Everybody takes a cut in their,
Yeah.
but they are maintaining. Financial institutions, they have grown their profits by 1,000%. Because they have held these government bonds,
Yeah.
which they didn't touch. and now the bond rates are 30%, interest rates are falling, they get massive capital gains, no touching them.
Right.
So you see, that, yeah.
Sorry, do you feel like this Piratic Solutions law that they're bringing in, is that another case of self-dealing? I mean,
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
because we know that there are massive defaulters at these banks, massive defaulters. Some of them are like even the chairman of the UNP, the treasurer of the UNP himself owes how much?
2.6 billion to People's Bank. That's public information.
Yeah, public
2.6 billion to People's Bank, almost $1 billion to Bank of Ceylon. And he's a treasurer of the UNP, who's the chairman of the BOC, Ronald Silva or Pereira, President's Council, who was part of the working committee of the UNP till very recently.
Yeah.
I think very recently he resigned for the only purpose that none of us really realized that he was part of the UNP working committee.
Yeah.
What happened was he was appointed as into the steering committee
For the
presidential campaign.
And then this
That's
came
when
out.
activists realized. So we went to town. Then he finally
Resigned.
had some semblance of good girl. I think he was forced to, because we were saying as a president's council, doesn't he realize that what he's doing is wrong?
Yeah.
How can a person on the working committee of the UNP, he's been on the working committee for some time, right? How can he? What are the chances of him ensuring that the treasurer of the UNP will pay back the bank loans?
It stinks of conflict of interest. It stinks of self-dealing. This is the whole crony system that we as a group have been speaking against, Peter. So just want to bring it back to something else which you were touching on earlier, which is this notion of stability that that has been pushed very, very hard by certain sections in the government, from the president and so on. The way we see it, there's a cost to that to a vast majority of people, including a certain amount of sort of backsliding democracy and things like that. We can see our civic space shrinking now. Even there was an IUSF convener who was arrested simply for protesting about just fairly standard things that people
PT.
protest about.
One of them was a PT.
About the bad laws,
Yes, the
that there are bad laws and so on. How do you see this whole
Clearly.
question of stability? Do we
Yeah.
have stability right
No, like I said, clearly there is absolutely no stability economically.
Yeah.
I think we are actually in the just before we get to that and remind me of your point. You see the debt, let's talk about it. We have not started even negotiations on the debt. Because like Lee Buchheit, who's a famous debt negotiator, he's not a Marxist, he's a capitalist debt restructuring. He said your problem is you have the private bondholders, the private creditors, you have the Japan, the Paris Club, largely Japan, you have bilateral with India and China. World Bank, Asian Development Bank, forget about it, very low interest, it's the never. Now he says the biggest problem is they don't come to the same table. Now the IMF, what do when they come to do their debt sustainability study? They do only two things. One is they tell you by how much you need to cut your debt from all your creditors. We don't know what that amount is. They've given them a target amount, 30%, 40%, 50%, 60%, can be as high as 70%. Then the second thing is what the IMF comes and it's dirty business, These guys, even with all due respect, Harsh, a nice man, the same liberal economists, no? They have no idea. He says go to the IMF, you should have gone earlier. The IMF is a disaster, a recipe for disaster. So they came in, what did they do? Then they put the other side, on the other side of the balance sheet, cut expenses, increase price of petrol, double the VAT, place the entire burden of the tax, of the prices on the people. That's what happened. That's what they did in Greece. That's what Yanis Varoufakis fought against. So the question is, what should we have done? That's why Lee Buchheit says, you go and have tough negotiations with the creditors. So if I got we have not even brought the creditors to the same table. And there's a thing called equality of creditors. Each one wants to be treated equally. Because one doesn't want to give a 20% haircut and the other. China straight away said there are no haircuts. End of story. End of story. So they say fine. China is not there now. Then coming back to the president and his statements, how people think that he's a great vendor, he's a great guy international. I'll give a simple example. When the minister was found of asking a bribe from Taisei, the Japanese ambassador came out and said he asked for a bribe. Because he was under pressure, Gotabaya asked him to step aside. The current president comes in, appoints a bogus commission. He is not guilty. What have you done? Effectively, you have told the representative of Japanese government, you lied. You know the Japanese culture, they are all noble and this and that. If you can't cross path, they'll commit harakiri and all that. They don't make a big fuss. They said, all right, you have shamed us. You have said that we are lying, and we'll wait our turn. Now they know debt negotiation is coming. So they pulled out. First thing, all the Japanese fund out of the country. Then the president in parliament comes and says last year, the Japanese have agreed to hold a conference of all the creditors. You remember I was telling you, all the creditors come to a table.
Yeah.
The Japanese have said they'll bring the creditors. Within 2 hours,
They said no.
They refused.
the Japanese government issued a statement and said, there's no such arrangement. And they added another phrase, that's his wishful thinking. Now,
I
this
didn't know
is
that.
this man
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you are now holding out. I say he's
I
a
honestly didn't know
great
that.
guy, he's a statesman. I mean, it's a joke.
He's a liar.
Also, because he lied in
lies.
parliament,
Yeah.
and they called him out. So, Lee Buchheit says, go and have tough negotiation. He says it happens every day in New York, in Wall Street. There are companies who are in debt. Come to the bank and say, we can't pay. Either you give a haircut or So one country that came out of this mess was Iceland. Because they asked
They did,
recently,
yes.
Varoufakis is on his talk on Sri Lanka. Any country, he said Iceland. Germany after the Second World War because they wrote off all their debts. And now the damn Germans are saying debt is a debt is a debt.
Yeah.
After having taken a debt, full complete haircut. Iceland came out. How? They were declared bankrupt. The very strong government came to power, democratic government elected. They imprisoned the bankers. Because the bankers were not ready to play ball. Put the bankers in prison.
Yeah.
And they told them, let's talk. You know how much the haircut was? 70%. They were out of bankruptcy within 1 year.
Yeah.
Do we have that kind of government?
No, of course not. I mean, just before we declared bankruptcy, we paid some,
That's right.
but,
We
500
are
million or
we-
something. We were about to run out of
No.
money, and we paid our.
Yeah, now if
What was that?
Anil or anybody else who came in, smart person,
Mm.
he would have kept the Aragale doing. You be on the streets. I as leverage. I go to the
Absolutely.
My people are in the streets.
Yeah.
You want to talk? You suppress them and break them up and all that. And you say, let's talk. I will take whatever you give me. But if you have a government of the people on the street saying no, then with that leverage you go and have negotiate. That's not what has happened. Now we are completely at their mercy.
Yeah.
And why did the IMF give us a tranche? For what? To save our poor.
No,
To provide stability so that the creditors can be repaid. Our guys don't get it, man.
and also access to international markets again, which
Right.
means we can start borrowing
Yeah,
again.
mainly to pay our debt,
Yeah.
pay the banks,
Yeah.
pay the banks.
Exactly.
That's what the IMF.
Yeah, I just want
Peter, sorry, can I just excuse me for a second?
And then we'll go to
Yeah. No, I just want to mention, in the middle of these sessions that we do, our internet, our connectivity to this entire area just goes down. So that has happened right now. I can't even connect to the TV. Like everything goes dark. This happens whenever we bring a guest, and then when we have, I mean, we don't know why this happens, because this is a functioning place and it never happens. But whenever we have a guest, and whenever we start talking about critical issues, we just completely go dark. But CK records all of this, and we will upload it later to YouTube. But right now our stream is dead.
No, it's
Right.
restored.
So what
Is it-
the
is it back on
live
again?
the live feed
Yeah.
might
Yeah, but we don't need to stop
Yeah,
because it's
yeah.
all recorded
Sure,
anyway.
sure.
And what happens is sometimes the live feed, only the audio is there. The video gets a little, but it's there. It's going. So if people are watching, we apologize if there are interruptions. But we're going to keep going
Yeah,
anyway
I-
because I think we.
Yeah.
And anyway, we'll upload it to YouTube once
Yeah,
this is all done.
sure.
So I just want to about this stability. I think we need to give the people what stability is. We need to tell the people what stability is, because people believe stability is not having queues and
Yes.
have and these things. That is stability. So people need to. I mean the people like us, you, everybody. We need to get together and make a very strong voice and say stability is, if you look at your month-on-month inflation and if it is 0 or less, that means minus or 0, then we are on stability. because now we have controlled our inflation. If it is plus 0.1, that means there is no stability. The economy is continuing to slide, the cost of living is continuing to go up. So this is the basic thing that people don't understand, is this.
No, but the people who are facing it understand in Sri Lanka. It is the the affluent, the people who are
That's
well to
right.
do. They are
Who
the
don't
ones
care.
who really spout it. But the vast majority of people now, I worked in a tree, I worked in the CMU, went back and worked, and I went for salary negotiations. I was horrified. I started to find that there are these big companies that publish annual reports, and one time I will have to name and shame them. Their starting basic is 20,000.
Sorry?
20,000
20,000.
starting basic. Now,
Nobody
in
can give up
January of
20,000.
2022, before it collapsed, that was 20,000. After inflation of 70%, actually they say inflation is 130. Steve Hanker, economist on Sri Lanka, he said it's actually 130 if you take food inflation all that. But let's take the central bank 70%. So if you take a salary of 20,000, you work out the real wage, which is nominal wage, into nominal wage inflation minus these two numbers, you get. That 20,000 is worth only 6,000 rupees today.
Yeah.
Our workers don't get it. They feel it.
Yeah.
So they are living paycheck to paycheck. There was a
Absolutely.
19-year service woman, single mother, 2 children. Let's talk about real people, not just the central bank governors, tall stories about stability, 19 years she has worked in this company, private company.
Right.
2 children, husband abandoned them. If she gets a total salary of 59,000, if she comes to work, it can only take 2 days leave. If she takes more than 2 days, the child falls ill, she loses her attendance bonus. If she doesn't get an attendance bonus, she doesn't get a productivity bonus. So if she fulfills all of this, she gets 59,000 bucks. And we didn't actually work out. Food, rent, gas also, the mother was sharing, we didn't take gas. Telephone bill, children's transport, and basic food. Not even when you have to go for Aurudu and all these things. Every month, she's minus 9,950 rupees. So I asked her, how do you survive? I take an advance for my next month's salary. This is Sri Lanka. This is our livelihoods are being devastated. So they know this. So there's no point trying to convince people who are well to do and so it's a theoretical exercise.
No,
We are
but
more
I think,
concerned about how
I
to-
think we need to shut these people who are talking about stability,
Yes.
to shut their mouth. We must contest them and say,
yes.
yeah,
Challenge.
I mean, challenge them to open debate, and tell me how is stability when the inflation is still at month on
they-
month.
And,
and
Chirag,
it's
it
always high.
happens-
and people's lives have been devastated.
Yeah,
Like
it
you
is.
said, they are so badly devastated that
And it's-
even a 1% inflation is nothing but you're continuing to rise.
Right.
It's the speed at which the
And
it's
in a-
not
in a-
happening.
in a-
So if it's 1, you're still increasing.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So you are going to get worse and worse and worse and worse.
Yeah. So
and
in a-
your livelihood devastated already.
Yeah,
And
in
at
a-
least the
in a
people
coun-
who are making, earning, they should be their salaries. There should be a formula for their salaries to meet the inflation. Those are the things that need to be. The government needs to do for the private
Yeah.
sector as
No,
well
no,
as
I mean,
state.
in a country where of 22 million people, where 1 million have left and 7 million fallen into poverty.
1 billion electrical
Yeah,
disconnections.
electrical disconnections and so on.
Today.
Even the very thought of sort of talking about stability is insulting to those people who are struggling under the crushing weight of sort of it's kind of, you're almost discounting that their lives matter. So this battle, you're saying we have to contest it. We do it every day in our group chats, on social
Right.
media, with people, our friends, our family. Stability isn't paying any price for a gallon of gas or whatever, right? It's inflation has come down. I think it's to single digits now, but the cost of living hasn't come. Food prices, cost of a basket of goods haven't come down. So this is something that we on a daily basis. We are on
Yeah.
certain groups where certain people are pushing this.
Also-
why are you speaking up? Because you're not. How does it affect you?
Let's not forget that they have brought consumption down by increasing the price.
Yes,
by
they
almost
depressed
triple.
consumption,
Like
right.
fuel from 150 to what is
Right.
350 now, almost double.
So
Electricity,
Chris,
so
today the president said that the reserves have gone to 3 billion. right? So that is by depressing demand. But
Also, hold on.
They're not paying.
Exactly, you're not paying debt.
You're not paying
So,
debts.
I mean, come on.
this
I
is what I'm
asked
get a
saying.
salary.
What are you doing with the money?
Yeah.
Yeah, that the full
Taxes?
picture is never quite
So,
presented
if
to you.
you-
They
it's a
give you
simple
little bit
arithmetic,
here and
no?
there.
Going once
I
a
have
month
a-
abroad.
Huh?
Going once, traveling once a month abroad.
Yeah.
You ask what are you doing with the money?
Yeah.
But there are educated people who believe.
Yeah. No, not
That is
only
the worst
educated.
part.
They are okay.
Yeah.
Because
They
they
are
have
okay.
put money in treasury bills and
Right.
so they are all right. They are okay. So they are now, happy to justify why they are not committed to staying
Yeah.
the course. So if you're not
I
paying
have
your
a
debt,
question. I have a
of course you
question.
will have money to spend, no?
Exactly.
But you are not servicing your debt.
Exactly.
So you will have 3 million. That's nothing.
That's not.
Because-
There's a question that we are asked by these people who support. So I'm going to ask you. I'd like to hear your answer. Who else but Ryan?
I was going to ask the same question. My thoughts.
Why do
No,
you-
just like to hear your answer.
People
Ah,
ask us.
we know.
I might as well
we
say
have-
anyone but. Why should I not say that?
Yeah, exactly.
What is this?
Yeah.
Because we're asking them, so what has he achieved?
Yeah, I
So
think-
we
if
had-
you answer that question, you can say, so what has he done effectively?
More fuel queues, more
Yeah.
gas queues. that's
And to
all.
your question, now we come to that point.
Yeah.
Now, they know this is going to be a very difficult situation, then people will rise. There will be agitation.
Yeah.
Trade unions, others, universities, all that. That's why the laws are important. The anti-terrorism bill, single labor law, so that the labor force is completely subservient to the employers.
I'm not familiar
Online
with that law.
service.
What is that?
Ah,
Single labor law?
Where
Sorry.
they want to bring, they say there are so many labor
They
laws,
didn't
we want to
bring that
consolidate.
in.
They are holding back because the unions have protested and they want to bring a law which makes it very easy to hire and fire.
Ah.
Simple as that. The protection of the Termination of Employment Act is to be removed.
Right.
Oh, labor should be, that Employment Act is there because they understand the power difference
People
between the
really
employer.
fought and got it.
Yes. So you see, so that's why it's now necessary to have a repressive laws that will now prevent. But this, I don't think we are going to come out of this crisis for another. Yeah. That was just mentioned. She has reminded me because you said that 1 million disconnections.
Yeah.
So she's
But
reminding me
anyway,
about that.
I saw President talking about that we are going to start repayment of loans by 2027.
Yeah.
And then that itself means that he has not done. What has he done? He has done nothing. I mean, if you are coming to the parliament to say that we are going to start paying loans by 2027, you better go home because then by that
No,
time.
but like the Japanese said, that could be wishful thinking.
And then
Where is the
and
date
we
that
have to
was-
remember Mangala Samaravira was very stern when he was saying that we had reserves of about $8 billion US. That is the amount of reserves that was given to the Rajapaksas when they took over this country, about 7 something billion US, which they have. And now if somebody is going to clap for 3 billion or 4 billion US reserves,
When you're not servicing your foreign debt, yeah.
Yeah. See, Peter, you touched on the airline assets and so on. I just wanted to I put this stat up because and you mentioned about Harin mentioning the airports.
Mm.
Now, Sri Lankan Airlines has a monopoly on ground handling and catering.
And they are making money.
It's a monopoly. Under Emirates management, which was last in 2008, it ended the year 4.4 billion plus profit. The following year, after renationalization, we made a 9 billion loss.
Mhm.
So that's a swing of 13 billion in the opposite direction, with a monopoly on catering and ground handling. So, I mean, the way I see it, that right there is the cost of corruption for this
Absolutely.
country.
Absolutely.
Now, assets like this, it's been demonstrated it can be run profitably, right? So, what do you feel?
So my point is a country does not have to own an airline.
Right.
So I don't think that's a strategic asset.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with, see, there will be always partnerships with private
Public-private,
entity,
yeah, of course.
but at very well negotiated terms,
Mm.
where you gain, you can do oil exploration as a joint venture because we don't have the technology, but you negotiate. But now what's happening, you're selling it at fire sale price.
Right.
Our assets are there to be leveraged. we can't get value out of our assets without foreign investment. But that can be negotiated in the best interest of the country, firstly. Also, there's the upside for them.
Right.
That happens all over the world.
Yeah.
But not the wholesale sale of critical asset. Telecom.
No,
Exactly.
Chamit, I think Peter, what Chamit is trying to say was this is an asset that was giving profit.
Yes.
No,
and
no,
somebody will
run
use
down.
this argument to say
Yeah, no,
government shouldn't own, private sector owned it, there was profits. You see, we can
Ah,
flip the
right,
other way.
okay, okay.
Flip the
I
other way.
understand.
But I'm saying,
Yeah. No,
the
also
corrupt government will run their assets.
Yeah.
Now you saw how they went on joyrides. I mean, can you imagine the chairman diverting a flight from Malaysia to Singapore when you have no landing rights for that flight? You have
Yeah.
no
pick up a
bridge.
dog. Pick up
Okay,
a,
I have
Pick him up.
pick him up.
This-
Yeah.
this-
I'll pick the chairman. That's
this thought came up to me
So-
when I saw, now since you in the business sector, I'm going to ask you something. This the first thought that I am also in the business sector, the small way. This thought came up to me when I was watching Nimal Siripala explaining about the rats in the plane. Of course, these all came just 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the sale.
Yeah.
Okay? All these up till that time, it was a national pride, all this type of thing. Anyway, so sitting next to him was the chairman of Sri Lankan Airlines, businessman,
private sector guy.
private sector, Ashok Patanabi. The first thought that came to my mind, as a small businessman, Ashok, we all know, it's common knowledge that his businesses, SoftLogic businesses, are highly geared, right? And they're poorly managed. They're running, they're in a very bad shape. Why would anyone make such a businessman chairman of an already loss-making airline? I mean, some time ago during Chandrika's time, there was Harry Jayawardena. Harry Jayawardena runs Ceylon Milk Foods, distilleries company, Aitken Spence. These were all making profits, and he's a proven businessman, entrepreneur. But sitting there, listening to Nimal Siripala saying, this, we can't run this profitably, and Ashok Patel again nodding his head and talking about rats, I was thinking, what is that guy? I mean, why is he even there? He can't run his own companies. Why has he been given the responsibility of running a national airline, which clearly needed someone who has experience? I mean, what are the qualifications? National airline is running at a loss, his own companies are running at a loss, maybe he might be a good chairman. Is that it? Is that what the thinking? So, what?
No, I don't. Yeah, see, I don't want to. Yes, you are making a point, and I don't have enough information. But your logic is very sound. So, I mean, that's the point, isn't it? I mean, we are not having the right people leveraging our assets. I mean, every chairman is appointed. It's a political appointment. That's what has happened.
Yeah.
Okay? The chart says it all. I mean, I say you can't make take telecom. They want to privatize it. Telecom infrastructure must be run as an important infrastructure, particularly with AI and all that. Who is going to provide connectivity to rural schools? Private sector company. But now, the question is, who is running this? An important asset now. Celti has combined with Mobitel. They can give a run for the money to Dialog. But they have got very good infrastructure already laid on underground. So, that's the point, you see. These governments they appoint people largely to fatten themselves and pass off some of that largesse to them.
Yeah.
This is nothing to do with government. Good governments can run. Singapore government runs a lot of entities.
Yeah.
So it's nothing to do with government. And they'll always make, when you run the government runs it now. Anyway, CEB has now made a profit of 60 billion.
61, yes.
And
There is no
then,
private sector there.
No.
But that is purely because of wholesale bloody robbery.
Yeah.
I mean, if you pay 1 million people to disconnect,
Right.
1 million people in the dark,
Yeah.
and you still make money, there's something wrong. No?
Well, I mean, they increase the tariffs. That means
Yeah.
the people already paid for that.
That's right.
Whatever
That's
discount
right.
that you're getting.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I
And
think
where
it
will
was a
the monies
redundant
go?
sort of a discount.
Yeah, where will the money
Yeah.
go? Good question to ask is, where is this money going? Most of it is going to pay a significant portion of all these guys who are creaming at the top holding government bonds.
Right. Exactly.
And
It's paid
also share-
30% for treasury bills and bonds.
Exactly.
You have to pay interest. Who? This is the money.
And the
This
people
is
bear
not
the
coming.
burden.
That is
And the people bear the burden.
pure rentier economy. Just money, finance. That is not money that's invested to create jobs and so on. They are creating it at the top. This is the
Peter, they have held up certain institutions as examples of sort of inefficient, how a state runs these institutions inefficiently,
Yes.
and created the mindset in the people that that they need to be privatized. And now we see that everything needs to be privatized. There seems to be, like you said, this fire sale kind of mentality. I think they understand that there's an. I mean, the next election, I feel they can see that there is a terminal point for whatever that happens, because there is a swing in the electorate, more to the left right now.
Well,
So,
we'll come to
I mean,
that, yeah.
exactly. So how do you view? this
Okay, so
entire
there are two
scene?
questions. Two questions. The first one is running state-owned enterprise profitably. Now, take government railway. It was always state-owned. Look at that gentleman. I forget his name. Rampa.
Yeah.
He was a general manager.
Long time ago.
I
right?
was told that SWR Bandaranagar took a train carriage and went on some election campaign. He sent him a bill and said, that is your election campaign. I can't do anything about Prime Minister.
Yeah.
I am not, you pay this government railway, you take a bloody carriage or whatever, you pay for it. That's how you run. But if you have a government that uses the state enterprises as a means to fatten themselves, then it will run inefficient. Of course it will run inefficiently. So it's just float these things,
Right.
because they don't fight corruption and all that, but say you take it at face value and say now let's privatize it. So second question, now the swing. Now it's a good time to ask ourselves, so what's the way out? Now people are getting ready for election. Now, between the SLPP and the SLFP and all that, you can clearly see that they're all the same economically, including the Sajjad. They were in power. But this Iran and what's the other? Harsha. They can't say the president was someone else and all. That's all nonsense. They were there. During that time, the number of indexes we fell. I didn't bring that details. In fact, I asked Harsha at Economic Summit that I moderated, and he was very embarrassed, and he tried to attack me also. I know him personally, nice man, very nice person. I talked to him, very nice person. But the economic policies are just the same. Just recently, George Galloway won the election at Rochdale, and he's going to give Labour and Conservatives a fight. He says Labour and Conservatives are two cheeks of the same backside. I say the same thing about the SLPP and Sajjad. They are two cheeks of the same backside. They follow the same economic policies. Nothing will be different. Now, and you can see how quickly the SLPP became adopted, the UNP leader, a failed leader, as they are. And today,
highly
that man
transactional
sits next to
culture,
him, his
so
classmate,
yeah.
and who shouted, hola, hola, Bankura, and they're laughing and so on.
Yeah.
Forget about it. So I don't see any change, particularly to address a crisis like this. A difficult situation where you need a very strong government with backing of the people. You have to create a movement and go, who is going to provide? Now there is a big swing towards NP. I mean, I can understand that people are desperate for an alternative. But on what basis are you going to make this choice? By all the means, get rid of these fellows. Even if it means vote for the NPP and get rid of them, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. But don't have any illusions. Because I have not seen now, and for the NPP Economic Summit, I went there. Full house. You know how our business sector is now. When they see the swing, these are people who will never be seen stepping into the NPP rally. I say Marxwadi and all that. Firstly, gentlemen and ladies, the NPP is not Marxist.
The NPP is
No.
not.
Not Marxist. There's no Marxist ideology. So some people are very pleased that the Marxism is bad. No, I'm talking from a positive point of view. Is there an alternate Marxist ideology, economic ideology? That's not there. They are not socialist. When did they last use the word socialism in their talks? They are not socialist, as in the social good and a socialist economy and all that it entails. They are not that. They are another parliamentary democracy, so-called liberal democratic party. What is their foundation? Now I went for the economic summit. full house, all the business leaders, all under the box. Okay. Not a word on debt. I have the notes in this very book. I always take notes. Not now, how can you have economic summit? We did not address the debt problem.
No one asked questions.
No, I wanted to shoot. Generally, I shoot off my questions. First question I shoot off in this. I felt bad. I honestly thought, let me not embarrass them.
Where was this economic summit?
At the Galadari, a year ago.
Yeah.
A year ago.
I was there to order more tea and coffee and all.
You know, Chandra,
So I
right?
thought, now Chaturanga, nice guy. His talk could have been given by Pranay. Widen, use knowledge economy. Slides, and in fact, I made a note of it. I must find that to be somewhere in my
So you're
notes.
saying basically buzzwords.
Buzzwords, man, nice guys. But, and who is in the Economic Council? All academics.
All?
Academics.
Academics. Okay.
He's Professor that not a man who has ever stepped on a paddy field. Not a fellow who has got into a fishing boat. Not a guy who has plucked tea. I'm saying if it is a socialist government, you will have people who are involved in the economy. You will hear the voice of the farmers. You will hear the voice of the fishermen. That's a real socialist government. Where you are hearing the people who are affected. They form policy. Same with education. All nice people, but that's not how you're going to cut it.
Yeah.
So now talking about socialist alternatives, in the UK, when Jeremy Corbyn was elected Labour leader, he and John McDonnell put out a manifesto. Every item was costed for. They said we are going to create a $1 billion or several $billion fund for technology. And they said how we are going to fund it. So if you are going to form the next government, you must have not a manifesto like Saubhagya Anagati. No. A manifesto that says I am going to spend X on education, X on health, X on future technology, X amount on this thing.
And how are you going to fund it?
Exactly.
And we need to have a
This is
law to
my-
see that they're held accountable for it.
that will come to. First
Because-
and foremost, an alternate approach, particularly now. Supposing they come to power, they'll have the same governor, they have all the government bureaucrats, they'll have the finance ministry bureaucrats. Who is going to run the country? On what foundation? That's not known. So what will happen is people will vote in large numbers, and I'll be very happy if this lot is decimated at the polls. No, I will make no bones about it. The SLPP, SLFP or UNP to some extent will suffer. But what will happen is if you do not have a strong people's movement behind you on very solid costed items, this will be my tax rate, this will be my capital gains tax. I am going to introduce capital gains because all you guys are minting money on capital gains and you're sitting there and collecting money. You're not investing it in growth. That's a separate economic discussion we can have. I'm going to have capital gains, I'm going to have wealth tax, I'm going to tax the richest at 60%. So whatever. And this is how we do it. Instead what will happen is they'll come, dissolution will settle in very quickly and the right wing will be back in power.
Shit.
Like what happened in the Philippines. You saw?
Yeah.
Now,
Sadly, we have this pendulum effect in politics
So-
in this part of the
So,
world, right?
that
Goes
is-
left,
that
goes
is-
right, like
that is
nothing
a
settles
concern.
in the...
Yeah, that is a concern now because NPP, now this is the problem. NPP says they are going to enforce the law against the corrupted and everything. But the thing is, we have a police IGP who is a political pawn. We have a police that is politically divided. I mean, there are some are UNP, some are Sajabe, some are NPP. I mean, it's all a mess. And the police officers, their decisions are politicized. I mean, they will look at one rally and they will slam water to that rally. If you have another political party coming, they will just, go and talk to the person. It's likewise, I mean, it's politicized. The police is politicized. So even if the MPP comes, this is what happened to the Jahapalna government.
They
Because-
deal with the same government bureaucracy.
Yeah.
And they control the show. You're absolutely right. Central bank, they're not going to throw all the governor and the deputy governor out. So you see, my point is, so what is the alternative?
Well,
So,
that's
where we come to the crux of the discussion and end on that note. You see, what the Aragalia taught us was about movements, the power of the people. We witnessed it for the first time. I'm glad I saw it in my lifetime. Where we saw people come now. In fact, the PP soon after that said, what you started, we will finish. It is arrogance. But you start, no, they are not building a mass movement. Real socialists, organize, they have changed the economy, changed the world. They have a movement. This is a parliamentary political party. All these women come, they clap,
Vote bank.
and
vote
they
bank,
make
all that.
speeches. Our actresses also go. They have no understanding, except a few, one or two, who are gone there, who question them.
Yeah.
I must say. But others just go there, they clap, they sing songs, and so what? So what? But if you're building a movement in your villages, say you have to look after Digambo, what are the effective? That's a true revolutionary movement. Learn from the other. Mobilize the people in your own electorates, your own issues, your local issues. If you've got, now take on the farming, take the Indian boats that are coming. I'm taking. I met these fishermen, they say we go in small boats, very sustainable fishing. These huge trawlers, they say they come this size, we can't see them. Deep sea, deep, heavy net trawling.
Exactly.
They take everything away. And India, large parts of India, the fish is gone. So they come here. Now we can get that fishing community, if the NPP can organize, and mobilize them. Along the coastal area, signal the Muslim Tamils, and they say, we are against this. Now we are to India. So quickly the Indian government got at them. Now you can't come out and criticize the
Because we are-
Indian government.
Now we are giving.
The 80s, man. West and said, Vijay Shankar. It's global. It takes a lot to go there and say, you may be Jay Shankar,
Yeah.
but I am for the people of Sri Lanka. We don't know what they discuss. There was no communique. So you see how quickly they can see that there could be a future NPP, at least a significant majority or parliament, or balance of power might be in their hands. So are you going to call them out? With what power? With your seats, but not with a real movement of people. That's why I don't have much hope for our future, and we will be in this economic mess for at least 30 years.
But Peter, how can, has anybody started what you're saying? Is there any movement started in a
Well,
small way?
That is the sad news, and I'll give 3 examples of what I was involved in the Artists of the People's Movement. They were very active. We had a purpose. We had objectives. Our 3 objectives were debt, sovereignty number 1, not the so-called bourgeoisie. What does sovereignty mean? Because we learned that in Aragon, when the people took sovereignty in their own hands and they drove away the president not through the constitution.
Yeah.
So sovereignty. Second was debt. Third was protecting assets. Things are. So the IT professionals for the people also came. Remember you said, I never expected the CEO of a top American company to sit on the barricade. He sat there, American CEO, local CEO, but American company. So we tried. He said, my God, now these guys. The moment things started getting a little better.
People were anticipated. But
These are guys who wanted to have press conferences every day. Press
Yeah.
I said, Mika soda bottle wage yanwa.
Right.
Pushkar. Long term. We are in for the long haul.
Exactly.
That's why we had a purpose. We had to inspire people
Right.
with our actions,
Sure.
so that they can make decisions affecting them on their own. That was our purpose as the artist. But to your point, tried it, failed. I went to the trade union, the CMU. Within 5 months, I had 40 meetings at the factory level. That's when I found out that the general secretary of the CMU turned out to be having backdoor dealings with the companies, with the Employees Federation. So he's telling me, if you send this letter, I called them out, the Employees Federation. He said, my God, don't do that, they'll be in an embarrassing situation. So, to answer your question, it's not a very hopeful place that we are in as a country. But we don't give up. You guys do what you do. You show up. So, we have to keep at it. Keep at it.
quite honestly, it's frustrating. I think Chris will tell you. This has not been an easy journey. I mean, we made it 261 days.
Peter, in that sense, I must say that
Yeah.
there's a little bit of good news. Recently, we interviewed a group, and it was very promising very, very hopeful list to him. And they seem to be they seem to be planning this for some time.
Yeah, but
The-
I don't know whether
I'm
we are.
referring to the center.
We are referring to
Yeah,
the
we are
same
saying,
people, but
I mean,
yeah.
we are nice people, Prashant,
Yeah.
not nice, but you see, we have no idea about parliamentary politics. The electorate, you see, I learned this because the LSSP, the Lanka Samasama
Yeah.
Party, at the height of their power, the 56 election or something, they won a lot of seats, a number of seats. So they thought we'll contest all the seats, and they got decimated. This group also thinks they can contest the elections, but on what basis? They are looking for candidates. What kind of politics is that? So they'll take me. I go. I don't owe them anything. I get a seat. What do? I'll give my vote to the guy who comes and gives me the highest offer and says, you come with me. So they are not based on how you guys have come together on some solid understanding that there must be community involvement, create
Right. I mean, it's about like,
some common idea, but not them. So, and also when parliamentary politics, you will see, because you see when they put forward Mahesh for the presidential and the Sarvo, they also got involved. So I asked the head of Sarvo, I said, how many votes do you think he'll get? He said, 1 million. I said, you are serious? At least. I said, he won't get 100,000. He got 40,000. JVP, huh?
59.
59.
yeah.
Wow.
JVP. I said, JVP, how?
He was involved in the campaign.
I was involved in
I
the
said,
campaign.
Laksa Tuna come in there. How much did the JVP get?
I don't
JVP
know.
something
Very, very
100,000.
small. I was googling that today.
Because I've been long enough in this game to know how parliamentary politics works. And small point, just a brief point. If you are putting forward a candidate in Balapitia, whom do you put? What is the criteria? What is the main criteria? Wakiana China, Balapitia, Shastra Dharma, caste, Salagam. If you don't put a Salagam,
Yeah.
you will not get who can be Marxist, revolutionary,
Vote bank
whatever.
politics. I mean,
Salagam,
bring
meaning,
that.
Balapitia Chandra.
you see.
Of course.
Yeah, that
So
feudal
you see-
tribal thing is still
Yeah,
there.
that is still
I
there.
mean, this good-heartedness, very good, but they'll get
I must say,
No, so that's
So
what.
Peter, after we met the centenary
Yeah.
movement, we thought you were very hopeful that at least some
No.
young.
I met Prashant
No, I
just
mean,
before
look,
his interview.
Look, I think,
Very
we
nice
should-
guys.
I think
And
we should
also the
wish
other.
them well. I mean,
No,
it's
no.
not like we.
Well, at least they are trying to,
Do something.
do something. All that they'll come together. But I'm saying, delusional.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I
can't
want
you sort
to.
of
I
work
want
with a
to.
group like that because
Yes.
they have a organization. Work with them and sort of educate them and do what is necessary.
What? That's the thing. So you have to sit down and figure out what are we going to do if it's going to be taking part in a parliament election. That's not on what basis? Like I said, what is the alternate economy that you're going to build? That's how you take state power.
but let me
not just
put it
put
this
some
way.
candidates win some seats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That fellow will join another party, or that's not a
Yeah.
crucial vote. Man, they'll come and offer you 200 million.
No, I
Now,
mean-
I have come as Sentinel candidate without any obligation to them.
Yeah.
I don't subscribe to the party's views. They are now looking for good people.
Yeah,
This was a good person.
Yeah.
I mean, professor.
Right.
Who they thought he'll end up where he ended up?
I
Apologies for Mahinda.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
This is not politics.
No,
You see, we are in a crisis. Sorry,
No,
Chandra,
no,
I
go
finished
ahead.
there. We are in a crisis. The crisis calls for an alternate economic model. That's not going to come by forming a party, collecting people. You contest this, you contest this. Nothing inside. I'm even challenging the NPP that has such a solid organizational capacity. I'm saying you don't have a solid economic foundation,
Yeah.
costed for, itemized, to say, here is how we would save the economy of this country. You will see, you'll be terribly shattered if you have any hopes of a parliamentary.
I think we have to put all our faith in Basil Rajapaksa.
look at yeah, Basil is back. So Peter, but the thing is, we are facing an election this year, maybe possibly two. Sometimes the choices are very binary. I mean, there's no magical unicorn, right? So how do we view choices like that? You know, I mean,
The way I'm doing it, for
because-
example.
because if I can just continue just for a
Yes,
minute,
yes, yes.
because during the Aragal era, there was hope of revolutionary generational change. We may have been able to get rid of the executive presidency. The movement rose up, engagement politically rose up. That is why we are still in it. We feel keeping people engaged, we have a chance, at least to influence people who might be able to make that swing. Because politics is tribal, politics is feudal. That's why the Rajapaksa still will get a certain amount of votes, right? The Goku will get a certain amount of votes, and so on. But the bottom line is we will face a binary choice. How do we view a choice like that?
It's a no choice.
Yeah, but
That's the
but
point.
we have to cast a vote.
I wouldn't. But but you see that is our crisis. We have no one. It's the same problem in the UK. It's the same problem in the US in relation to Gaza. Who do they choose? Trump or Biden?
Yeah.
Sunak or Star? Like George Gallagher said, they're both the two chiefs of the same. Actually, used another English word.
What do we do? What do we do?
So that is our crisis. So what we do, for example, raise consciousness. The one good thing that has come from the Aragalaya, that's what people say Aragalaya is a failure. I say no.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look at
Absolutely.
what you are.
I
At
do
least
that.
the first step is create a social consciousness. Why are you all here? Ramanuj, you have nothing better to do. No, because you have a consciousness that I can't be disengaged. So you are interested in the future of the country. So a social consciousness, be interested. That's a great thing. That's why I commend even the Centenary Group, because they have said, but they may be going on the wrong path. They think there's a shortcut. There's no shortcut to change, particularly when you're facing a crisis. Hard work. You need to bring people together around an ideology, an alternate economic approach. That's not going to be easy. The MPP is not shown itself
Yeah.
to have that kind of thing. But if people want to vote for them, good luck.
Right.
I'm not going out there to canvass against them. I won't do that. Because to get rid of them, but I'm only cautioning people, you will be very quickly disillusioned. Because if there is no substance,
Yeah.
what are you voting for? Is the smart question to ask.
Mm.
Not who,
Yeah.
why. So sometimes you cast a vote because you want to get rid of Islam. Anybody but them, so you cast a vote for them. Not because you have faith in them. So there will be lots of votes cast like that. There will also be
There are
people
these people,
who will have.
and people also must be thinking like quota, where everybody expecting quota.
That's
So
right.
to create no alternative, then it will be the MPP.
But the real change will come only when people get mobilized. I say we came this close
Yeah.
to getting rid of this whole lot, the Bar Association, this close, man. And the Bar Association also said, good technocrats. I'm a little suspicious of technocrats, but people who are well, free. They come and work for free. No payment for them. And there will be people that come. Economists who understand farming, who understand agriculture, who understand. And they would have formed a kind of
Doctors who
a-
understand agriculture?
Doctors, lawyers would have come. And good doctors.
You didn't understand it.
No, sir.
I was looking to Padini.
I mean, now there are enough people who care about the healthcare system. They would have come for free and they formed a government and they would have said, you stay in parliament, the people are on the streets, anything we bring in the interest of the people, you will vote for it and get it approved, otherwise you face the wrath of the people. They nearly faced it, so they were shitting themselves. Instead of which, so, but we did get rid of a family and a power that was so well entrenched only because we went out of this parliamentary
Yeah.
system, out of the constitutional framework
Yeah.
of state, and the people came together. So
But,
we have to go.
but the family is back. So sometimes, especially
They can be back. They can come back later.
Now, especially for groups like us, we've been on the street 100 days consecutively during the Aragalaya, and actually we scaled back on the day the day Ranil became president.
Yes.
That wasn't the decision because of that fact, but it was a decision we had made earlier. Then we became twice a week, but we kept on fighting. So everything the Aragalaya gained has subsequently been eroded first
Yes.
by the installation of a president,
Yes.
a selected president installation, then a plethora of laws
Yes.
in bad faith
Yeah.
to suppress exactly what we are
Yes.
doing. I mean, I think we are the only group that's allowed to still stand because we look like a typical UNP voter. We are the middle class, upper middle class.
And liberty.
English speaking,
But
English
if
speaking,
you-
we
but
reach a
if you're
small
a-
audience.
Right, if you're IUSF or if you're a trade union, you get hammered.
Yeah.
They try to hammer us too. They
Yeah.
send the mob after
No,
us
they-
and all of
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I mean, to intimidate us. Yeah. But that opportunity for generational change, I feel, movement building that happened during the Aragalaya has now been eroded completely and on purpose. And now we have to look at sort of incremental change because I don't see a movement which
Very true.
and
Very true.
and more and more people getting engaged,
That's
even slowly, or with groups like us talking to them. Possibly we have other groups building, like Citizens Collective. There are other groups. There are people well intentioned
That's right.
that are
That's
working
right.
towards
That's
this.
right. That's right.
But ultimately, we have to face the fact that it has to be an election. I mean, is the strategy, okay, let's at least try to get rid of the worst of the worst, and continue to demand reform and change that would actually bring about some kind of, maybe at least electoral reform, bring better people into politics, demand reform from the parties themselves, the selection of candidates, or things like that. I mean,
you see, this is where you also have to be careful. This whole narrative is a bit question. You have to question yourself on this narrative. Bring better people. Better for who? Now I'll give you the example of JLPs. I always take that. I mean, who would have found a better person than him in the training? Better, educated, professor of law, incorruptible. He doesn't need the money. Where did he end up? He will support the 70th, he'll draft the 18th Amendment, he'll support the 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd, 24th. So, what are
Hands
the
go
good
up for
people?
everything. Yeah.
So these good people, better people, it's plenty. What do you stand for? What do you stand for? So be careful, but do what you're doing. Like you said, incremental changes will, but the great thing is if you can create consciousness. That is why today there is a bill, you would come and protest. I mean, you guys show up at Liberty Plaza, 10 people, okay. But we are there.
That's Jassie's
So,
best effort. She's there.
I know, so you're there. I went on Gaza. I mean, we have not spoken about it. And there's a genocide going on.
Yeah,
What
absolutely.
are we talking about? I said, children are being slaughtered. And now we are trying to just spoke to you. I said, yes, now there's a Palestine group. We are chit-chatting, we are sharing information, inundating with information. But I said, let's mobilize. This mobilization.
But we are building a school now in Gaza.
Very good. That is
Where
one.
schools are shutting down in Sri
But
Lanka.
I'm saying if you can mobilize for a day of action. Now I'll give you an example of what we did in the 70s when there was an emergency. There was severe repression under Sirimavu and the United Front government.
Right.
So we couldn't step out. We'd be taken in prison. They had just smashed the JVP. In 1975 or 76, there was an international day of solidarity with the people of Chile because Allende had been overthrown by Pinochet. And all the slogans were relevant to Sri Lanka. Stop repressive laws, release political prisoners. Sri Lankan government, fortunately, had said we support the International Day of Solidarity with Chile. Great. So guerrilla campaign. We came out and said, we are talking about Chile. Release political prisoners. Do away with repressive laws. End the emergency. In Chile.
Wow.
So you see, you can do something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So you see, even on Gaza, you can get people just telling us, we can just 10 people can come up. 10 people plan, mobilize for one day of action. Now, this year, last year, we were going to do an international day of sovereignty to counter the government's Independence Day, 75th year. Independence Day, we want to say day of sovereignty, very different. We want to have little items, talks, similar Tamil. At the Vyarama Devi, we would put up small stages in the sitting area. Artists came, we collected pieces to perform. And we said, the artists, pulled out, they meant to do their work, their plays and all that. Nobody said, don't do it, okay, what to make up. But you see, you can still try to do something. 1,000 people you can bring to Vyarama Devi once again. Gaza separately. But on one issue, then we can once again sow the seeds. So, in conclusion, I congratulate you guys on learning something from that. Staying the way, it's not easy to do the kind of work you do because you're not getting any glory for yourself. So, thank you. Ladies.
Actually, we
Your
just get
inspiration.
blasted, we get nicknames.
Yeah. But keep
We get-
doing it.
yeah.
We take information, we share this, we create, and hopefully we can create, even if the NPP or whoever comes to power, the people will hold them accountable.
Right, that
We'll ask
is-
them questions, we'll bring proposals to them.
Yeah.
The fishing community can say, you won, but what are you going to do about the Indian boats?
Right.
What are you going to do about the plantation? Whatever. So that kind of pressure from outside must be sustained.
Right.
So that you can have this government answerable, create a better future for our people and for our country.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Peter. In fact, I hear the disillusionment in your voice about the squandered opportunity that the Aragalaya presented. I think we all have that same
Yeah.
sort of feeling, and in a certain way, we are disappointed that the people are not trying to recapture that.
It won't happen.
We're trying to
Movements,
spark-
movements rise and fall.
Right.
But for me, the greatest positive thing is that there is a greater consciousness
Yeah.
among the people.
Yeah.
A number of us wouldn't have
I think people
been
will
involved
surprise
in
us. I
issues.
mean,
That's
I
why
think-
online will people come.
Right. People came.
Some years ago, nobody would have been interested in online. Been after that, I
Yeah,
said.
Kahelia's issue.
Now
you know,
the people are
Kahelia's
coming.
issue, people still
You know,
be there. with
Central
other
bank
groups,
salary
we went and-
matter.
yeah.
You see, so we keep it on the agenda so that they are forced to talk about it in
Yeah.
Parliament and take
Yeah,
a stand on it.
in fact, when people
That's what happens.
Right, so
So
in-
don't underestimate what you're
Right.
doing. But
Exactly.
don't put all
Even
your
when the
hopes.
cardinal got, some goons came into the bishop's house, entire Nigambo came out.
Yeah.
I mean, people are now aware. I mean,
Ah,
they
yes,
are like
I-
even their
so-
own
I mean,
gospel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People are
Yeah.
there.
That's
all
I-
there. It
Right.
just
I-
needs.
No, I think in a robust democracy, activism has a space. We are not trying to do the job of a government or the opposition or NGOs or institutions. We are here to
Whoever
draw
is there
attention
will keep
to-
you on your toes.
Keep you on your toes.
That's
Hold people's
answerable.
feet to the fire, because we need to get this people off this sycophant kind of mindset, right? Like voting for someone, worshipping people. I mean, Rani is building exactly that kind of like a following right now. You're almost seeing like a cult-like following Rani list, who would whitewash any act and so on. And they're the ones who are generally challenging us on
But,
Based
but,
on-
but,
on a
but,
regular
but
basis.
I must give credit where it's
Yeah.
due. Unofficial UNP, that there's a
Yeah.
Twitter thing that is running amok.
Yeah.
But then when I bought this online safety building,
That spoke up against it.
he spoke up against and said
Okay.
that's a very bad bill.
Yeah, well.
Even
Well, even a broken clock is right twice a day. So I wouldn't give it that much credit.
Chaminda,
But-
I'm having a bit of a
but-
dilemma now.
but-
No, before meeting Peter, I was wondering whether to vote for the SJB
No,
or for the
listen, you
MPP.
vote your conscience.
No,
Chris.
but after listening to
Yeah,
Peter,
yeah.
I think I'm going to vote for Ranil Wickremesinghe.
How did I do that? We better not end on that
I
note.
think we were in. No, so Peter,
I'm
thank-
saying
thank
out
you
with
so
that
much.
lot. Out with that lot.
Yeah, no,
We'll
that's-
build a
that's
better
absolutely.
future.
So-
Somebody will
Yeah.
get a vote. Your vote.
Right. You've been very, very generous with your time. Leisha will not forgive me if I don't read her
Yes.
quotes for the week. So
She's normally here. We miss
Leisha,
her today.
one of our members,
One of our-
picks 2 quotes to read every week to end the program. So basically, her 2 quotes, one from Edward Snowden and one from Julian Assange, 2 dissidents.
That's great.
Your rights matter because you never know when you're gonna need them.
Yeah.
That's from Edward Snowden. Right now, I think he's a dissident right now, right?
Yes.
And Julian Assange as well, who said one of the best ways to achieve justice is to expose injustice.
There we go.
And
Could
I
have
think
ended
we-
on a better note.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, Nisha, and we miss you. Hope to see you here next week. So Peter, thank you so much. Generous with your time, and very interesting to talk to you. You're welcome back anytime. Maybe we let you come and take over one day. Gigi might take over. We'll bring a few people and
We'll work
let you
together.
Why not?
moderate.
Why not?
You know what I mean? Like I think that might add a dimension to what we're doing. So I think that's a wrap from day 261. Thank you so much. Thank you, Peter. Thank you to the gang, Anu CK, and everybody else who's there. And we're back to our usual street corner on Sunday for day 262. And hopefully we'll have TISL next week to discuss some of the bills, asset declarations, and a whole bunch of other topics. But for today, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
And
Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thanks, Peter. And that's a wrap from Good Governance Yaya today. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.